So DungeonCraft made a video about how and why DungeonTube is dying, and I found the title and concept alone really interesting, and I thought I would throw my 2 cents into the ring. Now my channel is only 3 years old at this point. I'm coming up to 70,000 subscribers and roughly I make 50k Canadian a year from this channel and other linked things like Patreon and Twitch and other channels. Like everything I do, kind of that's how much I make together, but this channel is the driving force for all that. And you may remember earlier this year, I actually talked about quitting YouTube because I was not making enough money. I haven't talked about this too much, but in November, I also came incredibly close to quitting too, and I'll probably do it again in a few months as well. The ups and downs of being a creator can be very high and very low. And I think at this point, that's pretty well documented across the board. I, view-wise, got more views in my first year of this channel than I did the second year, and then this year, the third year, I got about the same as my second year again. So there's not much growth happening on that front. And for me, it kind of feels like it's stabilized out a bit. And that makes me feel like I'm not growing at all and I'm going backwards. Even though I'm growing, it's just kind of the mental state that being a creator puts you in. Now in DungeonCraft's video, and I can't stress this enough, I think it's a really good video. Like, I think he's a great creator and I think he's very open and transparent about everything he's doing. But I think it's a fun segue to use his video to open up more of a discussion about this whole thing. So in this video, he talks about how he needs to change things up in 2026 if he wants his channel to, keep doing what it's doing or grow. In his intro, he talks about how some huge creators quit this year, and the basic example of that is the How to Be a Great GM channel, which 11 months ago made a video talking about the difficult decision to quit because they just weren't getting views anymore. They used to get a bunch and now they don't. This is the video that I think really started the greater conversation about, the D&D YouTube space and its longevity. This channel with 237,000 subscribers is ending. They're quitting. Something must be wrong. But I should say, since, quitting that channel, there have been 29 videos published on it. Now, most of them were actual plays that the creator guy did say he was going to finish up. And the other 2 are pretty much advertisements. But it's worth noting because there are a lot of channels out there that are full-time and, very much ongoing YouTube channels that would create less than 29 videos in a year easily. So currently it doesn't really feel like that channel's over or that that creator quit. I think the creator quit making the kind of content that people knew him for, the GM advice stuff. But I don't think you can look at that channel and say, oh, look, an abandoned channel. I actually hope we see more on that channel in the future. I hope they continue to make content, even if it is just a handful a year. Now, I only bring that up because I think the idea that some creators are quitting makes people think D&D YouTube on a whole is dying, but I should also say that the average span of a monetized YouTube channel is apparently 5 years, as in most YouTube channels do not make it past that 5-year point. Now, that is a number I've heard being thrown around a lot from a bunch of people. I saw it recently on Threads. I don't know the source of it, so, it might not be entirely accurate. And I don't know all the other information that goes into that number. But if it is true, it's obviously, heavily skewed by the average of all channels. So there are some that, don't last a month, and there are some that last 15 years. So it's kind of hard to tell how long yours will last because who knows what the 15-year-old channels are doing compared to the 1-month-year-old channels. 1-month-year-old channels? But I do think it's important to talk about, it's healthy to kind of think about a YouTube channel having a kind of sell-by date. If you make a channel and you find success, you're probably not going to keep that success going for 10 years straight. Why is that? Well, I think it's simply that trends move on, the audience changes, often matures, or is replaced by an entirely new audience over time. Competition pops up, and the big one, your audience could just get bored of the same old content. I like to think about running a YouTube channel like running a TV show. I think some people think about it like a standard career. Why can't they just do the same thing for 20 years like an accountant? But with TV shows, most don't make it past the 5th season. Hell, nowadays, you're lucky if you get anywhere near close to 3 seasons. And a lot of the best TV shows out there, in my opinion, decide that they're only going to do 6 seasons or something before quitting. They're not going to keep going. Those creators will just move on and make another show, right? There are very few shows out there that go for over 10 years. And those that do tend to see a significant drop-off in viewership year after year. No offense if you're a fan of one of those shows. Because I hate to say it, I think there's a drop in quality as well. And that's how I kind of see YouTube. Unless you change your content, sometimes wildly, and adapt to new climates, I think your channel will suffer because of it. And you can go and look at any incredible successful YouTuber nowadays who's been around for a while and, has millions of subscribers, and you'll see that the videos are very, very different from what they were making 5 years ago and unrecognizable from what they were making 10 years ago. And that's what DungeonCraft says in this video. He's not making his crafting videos anymore because it's just not viable for him to do so. And he wants to shake things up in 2026 to, survive. And I think these are very smart moves. I should also say that I think he would be fine no matter what. I think he just makes good videos, but I think it's a smart mindset to have. Now, DungeonCraft also, in this video, talks about YouTube annual report that explained how the algorithm works. Professor DM, I would genuinely love to see that report if you could link it to me or link it in the description of that video, because I was under the impression that how the algorithm actually works is a tightly guarded secret so that creators, cannot take advantage of it. It also changes all the time, and I think it's probably changed the most recently, like in the past few months with all the AI changes they've been putting in, for better or worse. But I do agree with you, and YouTube has come out and said this on their creator channel, that subscribers don't really matter anymore. It believes it's more about YouTube showing videos to people it thinks will like it based on their past history. Like, what have they watched in the past? Then it's about click-through rate and audience retention, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, DungeonCraft brings up a really good point when he talks about how 3D printing has changed crafting videos. And, it has. People aren't that interested in watching someone craft something when nowadays they can 3D print it. But it's also worth noting that the rise of technology and shifts in culture means that people over an array of things are just not interested in things they might have been interested in 5 years ago. And that particular type of content, the crafting video, unless you're doing incredible things, making pieces of art, I just don't think it's going to do very well anymore because there's still an audience there, but it's just so small. I don't think that necessarily means that, D&D YouTube is dying, but I think you're right. I think certain niches within that niche are dying. Like, that you're not going to get videos about that anymore being made, which is kind of sad because, there is probably still an audience out there. It's just small. But, with the death of those niches, you get the birth of new niches like 3D printing videos, or with online tools like tutorials on how to use Obsidian and stuff like that. So for me personally, I don't like saying that D&D Tube is dying or even parts of it is dying. I prefer to just say it is evolving. The last thing I'll say about DungeonCraft's video, which I think was, as I said, a really good video, but he does talk about how actual players are struggling. And I think it is a good point, something that has been the case for the past 5 years, if not kind of the history of actual players in general. It is very hard to make an actual play successful. I've seen so many phenomenal actual players that get very few views. And the ones I see do very well tend to be ones with a pre-built audience or with insane production value and talent. And people just starting out playing with their friends, often struggle. Well, this makes sense. If you're someone starting an actual play, I think you need to think more of it like you're starting a live stream, right? Just any live stream. Because these issues have plagued live streamers for years. Why would someone come and watch them play a video game if no one knows who they are? You kind of need to build an audience up first and bring them to the live stream. Because it's very long-form content that people need to already be invested in, like an actual play. Oh, and by the way, cheeky 5-second plug, I am live streaming right now on the day this video goes live. So if you want to talk about it more, come over to Twitch and say hi. I'll be answering questions and talking about this whole thing in more detail. Links down in the description. Well, the biggest breakout actual players recently either are already famous to some degree or have gotten big on TikTok first, usually by, transforming their D&D content in some way, either like through animation or something like that. Also, actual players still need to play by the YouTube rules. Like, they still need to play the YouTube game. You have to compel people to click, so you need a good thumbnail, and you need them to watch for a long amount of time, especially the first 30 seconds. And that is something that just most actual players I see don't even try to do. Like, they will open with player introductions and announcements and talk about themselves a little bit, when really they need to be getting into some action. You need to be giving me something where I can't click off straight away. I don't necessarily think that, actual plays don't work on YouTube, but I think what's become the standard way of doing an actual play does not work on YouTube. And honestly, I don't think it ever has. If you want to make an actual play, you need to shake things up. You need to make it incredibly clickable and compelling from the thumbnail and idea. And yeah, you need to pull people in straight away and keep them watching for as long as possible. If an actual play cracks those two things, the clicks and the watch time, I think they'll find success. I think it's kind of that easy on paper, very hard to execute. That being said, Critical Role made some changes to its thumbnail, like game, and its first 30 seconds of each episode, and it's finding insane success right now. Not just for that, but for a plethora of things. Well, since it's doing so well, it's hard to say that the actual play side of D&D YouTube is dying when the flagship show is doing better than like ever. So let's get back to the initial claim that D&D Tube is dying. And I've seen it thrown around a lot over the past 3 years. And I've seen a fair few videos, including making some myself, where the creators show stats, like their views going down, or their revenue going down, or other channels' views. But interestingly, I think we all know at this point that YouTube's videos are based on what I said before, click-through rate and audience retention. If more people click on a video and they watch it for a long time, then that video is going to get more views. And YouTube is very open and transparent about those stats. Like, creators are very aware of how many people click on their video and how long they watch. When I post a video, I can see if people clicked on it more than a previous video, and if they watched it for less or longer, to the exact, second. And I rarely see YouTubers share those stats. For me, my click-through rate is probably around 5% on average. Not very high, I know. It's usually high when the video first drops, but then kind of slowly drops to around 5%, which means when YouTube shows it, to 100 people, 5 people click it. Now, if I made a compelling video where the title and idea and thumbnail were just so good that more than 5% clicks on it, 10% clicked on it, like 10 people out of that 100, that video is doing well. And then I also know roughly that most people who click on one of my videos watch it for 40% of the time. So if it's a 10-minute video, they'll watch it for 4 minutes. 15-minute video, 40% of that. I'm not doing the maths there. Sometimes it'll drop to 30% for much longer videos, and even farther down if I did like a 45-minute video. And if you get more views than me, those figures will probably be different just because, it's being shown to more people and the variety changes. But as ballpark figures, it's a pretty good thing to go off. If I want to get more views, I need to get a higher click-through rate than 5% with better thumbnails and video ideas. And if I want to get more views again, I just have to get people to watch for half of the video, and I'm good. And honestly, I wish more creators talked about these stats rather than just talking about views and revenue, because I think it paints a better picture of what the audience is doing. Are less people clicking on your videos? Are they watching for less time? Is that why, your channel is not doing as well? And if that's across the board, is that why D&D Tube is dying? Does the whole D&D Tube space have to level up their thumbnails and level up their videos? I've really been coasting too long on viewers' passion alone, and now they're getting shown a bunch of other really good videos from other niches, and we're just not able to compete with that. I think these kind of stats and talking about them is so important because it takes the onus less off the all-powerful algorithm and puts it back on the creators. An interesting thing for me about the news clickbaity kind of videos, that honestly, this one is a little bit, but I want this to be more of a discussion thing. But I find if I use overly sensational titles and then talk at length about some news piece, probably longer than I need to, which is a trend that's happening right now, I get a much higher click-through rate at the start, more people click on the video, but the audience watches it for less time. Like, I see those stats, I know what's happening there. And what that leads to is that the video tends to do very, very well at the start in the first day or two because more people are clicking on it. So YouTube's pushing to more people. And then no one's watching it for very long. YouTube realizes it and it just kills it dead. And I think that's, where a lot of these issues lie, because we're not making content that stands the test of time. And I'm not going for anyone here. This is just genuinely across the board of not just D&D Tube, but YouTube in general. Those kinds of videos tend to be a quick way to make a little bit of money because you get a lot of views early on. But in the long run, are going to make you, less money than trying to make a video that's going to stand the test of time and make you money, 5 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line. It also, and I think this is huge, and the stats don't show this as much, the comments do though, but it affects the trust that your audience may have in you. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff that is out of the creator's hands. I'm not blaming creators for, the space, quote unquote, dying. Like I said, in November, I got very close to quitting because I think it was a mix of a few things. YouTube changed how they dealt with ad blockers on PC, meaning I lost a whole bunch of views from people using ad blockers without there being any change in click-through rate or average view duration. Like, my videos didn't get worse or anything like that. So that was scary because I just lost 20% of views across the board that month. Luckily, it didn't affect revenue, but, just views can affect a lot of things. That also came about at a time when I was experimenting more with Daggerheart and the Cosmic RPG content, which I may have gone too hard on, certainly the Daggerheart stuff on this channel, because I full on got comments from people who were like, oh, is this a Daggerheart channel now? I'm unsubscribing. But I talked about that at length as well. All that also came around that seasonal time where kids start preparing to go back to school and then go back to school. And there's just a well-documented drop in views and users on YouTube around that time. And I'm pretty sure all of that hit everyone. Like everyone was affected by all those things, except maybe the Daggerheart stuff. But the point is, there'll be times when the market is just down. There'll be times where you do everything right, but the views are just not viewing. And sometimes that'll be seasonal, predictable, and other times it will be completely, random. And it can feel unfair. It can feel like the niche is dying and the creators cannot stay afloat. God knows there have been times this year where I've read about, paying rent. But this job was a choice. And I wake up every day and continue to make that choice because I love it. And I think it's fine to talk about it and complain about it. But it's also important to remember that being a content creator is one of the most sought after jobs in the world now. Or it was a few years ago when I think we all saw that survey asking kids, and most of them said that they would rather be a content creator than an astronaut. Like it used to be kids wanted to be astronauts. Now they want to be YouTubers, which is kind of dystopian in itself and scary, but whatever. For me, it's an honor to be able to do this as a job. And I don't think I'll still be around doing this on YouTube in 10 years. Probably most definitely not. I think it is important to think about the life expectancy of a channel and then plan accordingly. If I am still creating videos in 10 years, I'll be very happy, but I expect the content I'll be making to be very different from what I'm making now. Also, I feel like this is going to be a long video with no editing. It's kind of naked. So if you've made it this far, please type the word naked in the comments. Somehow make it fit in a comment. Let's see if we can get this video demonetized somehow. And yeah, thank you for watching this far, genuinely. But the last thing I want to talk about, and it's something I myself need to really take on board, is that ebb and flow, peaks and valleys of views and revenue and quote unquote being a successful channel on YouTube. Because I am very quick sometimes to want to make a video talking about how my channel is not doing so well or how the D&D tuber space in general is not doing so well. And, I know obviously others are very quick to make videos about that because it sucks when views are down, especially across the board. And, people are talking about the stuff that's important to them in the moment. It can also, and it's not a bad thing at all, drum up kind of marketing for your Patreon or for your other side things that make money and help you survive those kind of cold months, which I think is a smart thing to do. My Patreon's linked in the description, by the way. But the problem is, while we're very quick to make the D&D tube is dying videos, we're not very quick to make the D&D is thriving videos, when it's doing really well. 2023 was an insane year. Yeah, the OGL happened, but interest in D&D tube was through the roof. Because of the OGL scandal, I got more subscribers in 6 months that year than I did this current entire year. And I'm full-time now. I was not full-time back then. I maybe put in a quarter of the time and effort, maybe even less, than I'm putting in this year. So it was crazy. It was like 4 times the amount of views and subscribers that year than I would get now. Does that mean this past year has been rubbish for me? No. It means that those 6 months in 2023 were exceptional for me. And we need to talk about that more because I think there are some creators who were very smart and during that time made a ton of content and made 3 or 4 or even 5 times the money they would make in an average year. I wasn't on YouTube for it, but I presume that was a similar case in 2020 with COVID too. These times may have sucked for the world, but on YouTube, I think people made a ton of money from it. So it is a pity how fast we are, and I'm including me in this, how far we are to call out when our channels are not doing as well as we would like, but we don't take into account all the times they're doing far better than they probably should be. I had a really good month last month because Critical Role was popping off and I was getting hit by some of that audience shrapnel. Well, this month I'm not doing as well, probably because it's December and I just think people are busy. And the reason I wanted to make this video was to kind of just give that perspective. There are natural ups and downs to being a creator on YouTube, and there are also unnatural ones, caused by WotC and Stranger Things and politics and pandemics. There's a lot out of our control, but there's also a lot in our control. Times are always going to be changing, and I think it's on us as content creators to try and adapt. And, it's how Dungeoncraft ended his video too. I'm doing the same. We all need to occasionally change, and our content does too, because our audience is definitely always changing. I don't know how I'm going to change. I don't have any plan. I'm going to keep experimenting. This video is a bit of an experiment as well. But yeah, I don't think D&D tube is dying. I think it's evolving. And I think we need to too. I am live right now as this video is being published. I'll be live for a few hours, but I am live pretty often at the moment anyway. So head over to Twitch if you want to talk about this more. I think today I'm going to be looking at Bob World Builder's video about D&D AI and discussing that too. I've seen a few other people make videos about it, so it should be interesting. I've not watched any of them yet, but yeah, I will see you over there. If not, that's fine. Maybe check out one of these videos next, or like the video, or even subscribe.